That means you got to be around him more, I guess.
Came back and Genesis card at 10.
Oh, what's up, Ann? How you doing, man?
Okay, so let's go ahead and start. Hercule should be awakening. Oh, you got headphones in your phone? Okay, guys, so they are putting in their headphones, and let's get right to it. Family.
Yeah, so commenting on...
Don't know what my audio is?
That's Duck right now. Duck's like, Duck has to pull out all the stops to maintain his record. It's like, Ningpo, stream listening. So we have Hercule versus Surge Style. For one, we got 3 different colors off rip. What looks like yellow, obviously looks like red and green. But we know that he also runs blue. So we have 4 colors that we're indefinite to see on board in this matchup.
Yeah.
Off rip, when we look at the color schemes, red, blue versus green, yellow, we get 2 different parts of the spectrum, right? So one is red, yellow having the ability to play very powerful cards for very low, as well as negging your opponent's board in the form of board control. And then we have green that also specializes in a form of board control and obviously hand destruction. Board control coming from their counter plays, etc.
Yes, Honcho, I was.
So, off rip, both decks are going to be able to do something about each other's boards. And at the end, it's going to come down to who's going to be able to strike lethal first.
Wow, you're right.
Bro, when I was thinking about it, I was like, yeah, don't fucking continue with that sentence. And I was like, I'm drawing a blank here, help me out. Who's going to turn lethal first? Dumbass.
Oh my god. No, but the interesting thing here is that part of Duck's strategy is hand control.
Yes.
And Hercule, I'm not going to say it's not affected at all, but because of its ability to keep drawing cards, it's not as bad for Hercule as it is other decks.
Exactly. And again, a lot of the economy comes from Cell's defensive plays, right? That's going to allow him to get those defensive kills and bring out his crit, etc. And Hercule doesn't really do that aggressive plays in this deck. It doesn't do like aggressive dropping. It likes to save most of his energy for the opponent's turn as well. So this is going to be pretty interesting watching that matchup. I mean, obviously there are going to be plays. Eric is going to have to watch out on playing stuff like his overdrive and his cooler without, before Duck has already activated one of his counter plays. So he needs to make sure he baits that out on these really powerful plays. And Eric's just going to want to probably be as aggressive as possible in this matchup. Duck is able to generate advantage, as we've seen, against a deck that also generates advantage for absolutely nothing. The difference is that Duck was able to generate that advantage and use it against his opponent in the form of board control and pressure. So Eric wants to make sure that he's going to hit constantly as he's going after Cell, because he wants Cell to feel that burn. Cell's going to be able to generate a lot of value off of no energy, and so that's the kind of scary part, I just want to make sure that he's able to generate a decent amount of damage within the first couple of turns.
SR is fire.
Yes, it is.
The interesting thing too is the SCR that Eric is running, that being Black Smoke, is vulnerable to the counterplay.
Yes.
But because of the Demigra unison, Eric can't necessarily control the unison the way he would against a normal deck. Yes. He can't just swing into it and kill it. He's gonna have to play it the way Duck wants to play it. Duck can just take his own life. And in Cell, where you don't have a ton of other ways to Force Awaken, that's okay for Duck.
But Demigra Unison doesn't put the life in his hand.
Right.
So that would actually be negative against Duck and Duck's strategy. I mean, obviously, if Duck wants to preserve his Unison as much as possible, that'd be sure. Wait, he just added it to his hand. That Unison takes the life to the hand?
Yeah.
To the hand?
Yeah.
Yikes. Okay, so that was a calculation of your part.
Wow. Yeah, it's points to attack the leader in combo when he's gonna take the life or he has to lose a marker.
Yeah.
Unison is busted.
So yeah, that speaks to what we were just talking about, how much that Unison might actually impact this matchup.
So the Unison says when he instead of losing a marker, he can add a life to his hand.
Right.
That's pretty strong. And then what's the overall end goal of the Unison? What does he do? Like, what's one of his?
So I believe you can +1 to gain 10k attack.
Okay.
And then -2 to pop 1 battle card, ignoring barrier, I want to say, of a 4 or less, and then another battle card as well. It's a pretty powerful effect. That might not be 100% correct, but it's something along those lines.
Okay, so the Unison says if you would lose them, add it to your hand. This card gets 10k, and then -3, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards KO, then choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and plus 3 or less.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thank you, Juan Castillo, 1989, for following.
Appreciate that.
Guys, again, yeah, we haven't spoken about it a while, but these decks, the decks that Eric and I showcase will be on our Patreon. And we're going to try to get pretty cool deck profiles out of the people who also participated as well. But also, guys, you can go ahead and find that on patreon.com/TheHillTwins. And you can also check out, again, sub and follow this Twitch.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want more content like this, you should absolutely be following. There's a lot of cool stuff coming. This is the first of many streams that we're going to be doing like this.
Yeah.
There aren't too many places that have live gameplay right now that are taking place in person for obvious reasons. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this, and if so, please do share and give us those follows. They really help a lot.
Thank you so much. So, okay, also having access to Kotukai is going to be very, very good.
Yes.
In dealing with the Unison.
Yes.
So, I mean, the counterplays. This is also pretty damn good. So what he should do is swing with his leader, combo the Kotsukai. Then he should drop the activate the Kotsukai, then drop the Brawling. That would cause him to lose 3 cards out of his hand, potentially 4 if he decided to counterplay that.
Right.
So if he counterplayed that, he would lose the counterplay. He would lose. You see, so Eric should have actually done Kotsukai to begin with.
Yes.
Because now what would have happened in this situation was Duck would have lost the counterplay. Duck would have used the counterplay. He would have put in play the freezer, and he would have lost 2 cards and an additional card from this guy.
Right.
So Duck's hand would have dropped to potentially 0.
And that's
perfect for Eric.
That's really bad for Cell Search. It doesn't draw the same way other leaders do.
So, exactly. And so that's what Eric kind of wanted to do this turn. He wanted to tap out to be able to do that, force out that play, because right now, Duck is going to get that free value of the KO, which is going to generate his free play on the
surprise attack freezer.
Surprise attack. And this would have been, and then he would have dropped again for a surprise attack.
Yeah.
So he would have shut that entire play down and still been able to go in his hand and take a card.
Wow. I think that's amazing. Like, I wish he had done that.
Exactly. I wish he was listening to this stream.
Thank you, by the way, Random Ant.
Thank you so much for that. But guys, this is having the insight, and it's not about having insight just because I'm watching it. Throughout the game, we have to be able to put these pieces together. Obviously, Eric didn't go into the matchup knowing much about his opponent's matchup the way that we actually saw it. But in general, with that knowledge, hopefully Eric will proceed like that moving forward, because that Kotsukai completely shuts down the play and still gave him a free KO, or a free hand control with the Brawling. So it's like either I'm uncontested, or if you contest me, you lose everything.
Yeah.
And you lost your advantage that you was going to quote unquote use against me next turn. So right now when it flips over, he has all this pressure that he can flip back, as well as now turning those cards into his Zamasu, because he's going to reach his third energy. So Eric would have also thwarted that play right there, because he wouldn't have had what he needed to do.
Yeah.
That would have had to wait an extra turn. So that's just so much that actually happens in one little interaction. Had he done one little interaction, so much would have been completely different.
And let's talk about how much this game has evolved. A few sets ago, this early on in the game, you're charge passing. Think about how much you just broke down that could have happened with 2 energy.
Exactly. And so that's with 2 energy. So you went minus on the energy as well. And yes, so that U3, I think Kotsuka is a U3 or whatever. I don't know what it is.
Whatever it is.
But regardless to whatever, yes, had he had comboed, he should have swung combo, drew the card, activated that effect, and then dropped the Brawly on the tap out. That would allow him to go into his hand safely and take anyone. If that was his only counterplay, he would have lost it. Other than that, he would have taken whatever he wanted, and if Duck would have wanted that value that he got right here, and now Duck would have lost his entire hand completely off of the Kotsukai and the Brawly's effect, as well as losing these 2 that came into the board. And so Duck would have lost his entire next turn, because Duck wouldn't have done that unless, of course, he saw past that.
Yeah.
So if he didn't do that, Duck wouldn't have the turn that he's able to have right here, right now. So if we see the 5-drop, the 5-drop Zamasu on top of this, this is gonna be a little bit more pressure than Eric would like to take.
Yeah, absolutely.
Early. I mean, obviously Eric wants to awaken, etc. But because his opponent is able to generate a large board, he wants to be able to do that in waves versus all at once, as well as the crit pressure. I mean, he does have the MG open, which active, which is fine, and he does have access to super combos. But that would have been the better play in general.
Well, let's talk about the fact that Duck did play one of his counterplay Friezas their early game. That card is going to be imperative going forward.
Exactly.
So he has to be so careful with how often he's using it.
Exactly.
Because if he doesn't have it in the critical turns, none of this matters.
Exactly. And that's the biggest thing. Hercule's going to be able to defend himself adequately. I mean, you generate a board, Hercule can remove that board the same instance that you generated it, and that's one of the hardest things to stomach in that matchup, is that Duck also has to now choose how he wants to distribute his advantage.
Right.
Because this was advantage, and what is not realized during this, if it's not taken as an actual advantage now, it's going to be a loss on Duck's half later, because he's going to be without.
Exactly. So he's swinging in with the crit Frieza. Obviously, Hercule doesn't want to take a crit, but as you can see, the power of Hercule, he's going to draw 2 cards here and defend safely.
And now he's a 10k base, and he has still 1 energy open.
Yeah. So he's actually in a great position. The Unison swings in, but I don't know how much Eric actually minds this right now.
Yeah, Eric definitely still wants to be able to awaken adequately.
Yeah. Eric should always combo too as well. Yeah. Instead of taking the damage, he had Mutable Menace. He should have gave up the Mutable Menace, drew the additional card. You never ever want to use Hercule without using that filtration effect. There is no plus in having Mutable Menace in our hand and not having had exchanged it for an additional card draw. Absolutely. You get rid of a card that you don't need to potentially draw a card
which works from the draw. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that is a loss, honestly, because of the fact that, you know, he could have potentially had access to seeing a card further in the deck.
Yeah. Now, you built this deck. Is this a 60 card?
Yes, this is a 60 card deck.
So I would say it's even more important in a 60 card deck to filter through.
And that's largely the reason why it's a 60 card deck. Hercule can actually, you know, get to the point where he's going to take the damage. He should have done that last turn as well.
Right.
But that's fine. Hercule gets to the point where Hercule does draw a lot of cards. On the Awaken, he can draw 5 cards throughout the turns. He's essentially going to draw a card per battle. So 60 cards is the number that you want to run if you're going to use it, because of the fact that you can find yourself in a sticky situation as far as it comes to deck amount.
So who do you guys think is going to take this game? These are 2 leaders that you're not going to see a ton of in tournaments. People are sleeping on both leaders. But what do you think about these decks so far? Who do you think has the advantage? Let us know.
Draw 2, Awaken, draw 3.
Very powerful.
And then draw an additional one.
He's up against a hand control deck. Look at his hand. Cell is taking this. I want Surge Cell to win. So we've got some Cell Surge support. Interesting. What's your reasoning, guys? I'd love to hear it. Why do you believe that to be the case? Duck support. Respect that.
Well, his board is going bye-bye this turn.
Right.
And,
give you cards to swing at for free?
I just don't feel that Cell Surge boards the kind of cards that really threaten Eric.
yeah. I think that Eric is... Eric has a problem where he can tap out, get rid of his board. If he chose to do a counterplay, that counterplay would also die.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, go after his unison. And he doesn't worry about being tapped out because of the fact that he has his super combos, which gives him access to not only drawing a card, but...
So he does play the Kaioken Goku. This is going to try to work or remove the entire board here. That's a very, very powerful effect to happen so early. This is going to remove all of Duck's advantage.
Yes, even the indestructible. I guess he was destructible.
I shouldn't have laughed at that.
Yeah, I know. You did like the evil doctor laugh. You did the.
Oh, yeah. Cell for the win just because the playstyle is great. Okay. Mr. Sardonic.
Cell has a.
Indestructible?
No,
it gets nagged. Indestructible.
Oh, it's nagged. I know. We know.
I nag you by 20.
You're choosing them. You're not nagging.
Oh, yeah, he is right. He is right. It doesn't neg. It pops 20k or less.
Oh, that's right.
He is right. Yeah.
Oh shit.
That's unfortunate for Eric here. He really did want to remove that Zamasu from the board. So he's only going 1-for-1, which is not ideal with cards like Kaioken.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep, absolutely random man.
Yeah, you know what? I thought he was actually playing the other guy.
Oh, the Vegeta. Yeah.
I don't know how.
Yeah.
It's a misplay. It happens.
Yep, absolutely.
You're making a 4 less life, right? 4 less, yeah.
It's not the end of the world, though.
It's definitely really not. Honestly, aside from all other things, being able to get rid of the surprise attack was decent, but it would have been a better trade-off. One less energy, and obviously, better to deal with the Zamasu.
Well, we know that Eric is playing blue and red, which means that he has most likely the Vera super combo. It means he most likely has Cooler. So that Zamasu is still not safe.
Exactly.
This is actually the worst matchup for a card like Zamasu, who otherwise is not getting off the board.
If I would have removed that, you could have timed it back.
Unfortunately, Duck does keep the Zamasu on board. That does mean that we're one step closer potentially to Cell. Yeah. And again, not that Eric can't deal with it. He does have access to Cooler.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting. Do you have any thoughts on Cell Surge's position in the meta currently?
Cell Surge is still a strong leader because of the fact that there are strong green and yellow cards and blue cards, etc. And so essentially, any Surge leader outside of Kefla, because she's specifically how should I say it, unique to Universe 6 in the way that she gains her value off of playing Universe 6. So any Surge leader is a strong pick when there are strong cards to add into the deck, because they're not they're unbound by their awakened abilities, and essentially they're able to see the cards that they need to see, right? If we look at Hercule, even with Hercule being errated, Hercule is still a strong leader, being able to awaken and untap 1 energy, draw 3 cards, being able to have access to all of these good cards that Hercule can run, but have it added extra because of the fact that he's also a yellow leader. You know, the deck just would do well.
Yeah, Random Ant, that is a very, very good point. The Cell SR is live this turn. That's really bad for Hercule because all of Hercule's advantage is in his effect, and that will be gone.
Well, so it's live this turn. I'm confused because it only has 4 energy.
So he can free play the new Cell SR, right, from set 10 by removing the Zamasu from the board, and then remove the Cell SR that's in the drop area for the Cell SR that negs the skills of a leader and rips cards from the hand.
Okay,
because it's a free play.
The Cell SR. Okay.
Yeah, yep. I believe Zamasu leaves board. I believe Zamasu says, or I believe Indestructible says your opponent's skills cannot remove any.
Yeah. So
Did I do this, sir?
No. Yeah. The Indestructible is the reason why Zamasu stays on board. The card that Eric played does not neg all battle cards. It KOs battle cards 20 KO. But it can't KO.
Where's the Broly Surge decks? My boy never sees play. I don't think anyone here is playing the deck right now, but it is still a leader to consider when you are entering a tournament. It can sneak up on you.
No, it's not a crit. You added to him. That's what I was trying to do.
What?
What does if you swing at the one rock, then you say unison. Do you either crit the card or
It goes to your hand.
No, right? So like, if you're swinging at this, it's like usually more versatile. You're letting
Duck has a lot to consider here. We can't see his hand, so we don't know what lines of player he has access to at the moment. But this is a critical turn, I think, for him. If he makes a misplay here, the game could swing in Eric's favor right now. Sounds great, Mr. Sardonic.
So Duck is definitely gonna just want to deal with his board.
So it looks like, is he trying to play the Frieza here?
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Which he can.
Playing the Frieza, so that's pretty good. That tells me though that he's not looking to play the Cell SR this turn because I believe I'm correct in saying that it removes your board, all the battle cards on your board, I believe. And if that's the case, why would you play an extra battle card?
Draw card.
Oh boy. Here we go.
20.
And now here comes the power of red blue.
Do we have a cooler? I think we do. So we don't have a cooler this time.
No cooler, very interesting.
And that's the reason why throughout the match you want to make sure that you're getting rid of cards that you don't need as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And capitalizing off of being able to go draw a card off of every battle so that you can get to your cards. At 3 energy, after have taken multiple attacks, there's no reason why you shouldn't have access to cards that you normally would see because you should be exchanging those cards out.
And as you pointed out, Eric did miss an exchange a little bit earlier on in the game. You don't know how much that might have affected the amount of cards he has.
Just one card.
Yeah.
So whatever the top card of his deck was, he would always be one card ahead.
Right.
So whatever he draws now would have actually been a resource for his deck.
So duck passing turn here.
Eric charging that. Pretty interesting because Eric would have actually played it and baited out the counterplay. And then would make any of his other cards. That has 2 red. Okay, so
here's the unison.
He's gonna remove 2 and go into his hand.
Yeah.
He wants to look out for the Cell Super Rare.
And that is so critical. If Duck has the Cell SCR in his hand right now, it's gone. And that is the critical play of this deck. If you cannot make that play, you have a much uphill battle than you would otherwise.
Exactly. And not having access to the Cell Super Rare is incredible.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that's the play he's going to make. He made it. Yep, there it is.
Yeah, -5. So yeah, I'm looking at
You can play it to the 5 to resolve it.
And he doesn't
have it.
Yeah, so he has access to getting rid of the super combo.
Yeah.
It has to be a multicolor battle card or a battle card of 10k or less.
Right.
Is that 10k?
Is that 10k?
I'm over here like,
So, getting rid of the counterplay. Oh, wow. Incredible.
Oh, boy.
Incredible. Now we're talking about hand control.
Wow.
And I think at this point you just go after the that bad boy, and stop him from putting 8 in a drop.
Right. It's funny how the hand control situation is actually flipped here.
Yes. And now he just would go attack into the crit and be done with the turn, right?
Yeah.
So now his Hercule is a 15k swing now.
I agree with the chat right now. Patara is saying that Duck needed to awaken. I understand why he might not want to do that, but he really needs to start doing something because he's losing advantages. The longer this game goes on, the more favored I think Eric is in this matchup. Once Black Smoke hits the board, there's no way out for Duck, and he's already seen 2 of his freezes out of 4, and he doesn't have draw power. This is a bad situation.
And so that doesn't. So now Duck even lost a card, which ultimately it's not going to do nothing to Hercule. And on top of that, Duck exchanged a card to protect that card. So now if he attacks with his Unison, Duck either has to lose his card again, or basically Duck would have wasted a super combo.
Yeah.
So if you couldn't protect the card fully without going completely neg, then you wouldn't want it. So Duck basically gave him a free super combo, which I don't agree with.
Yeah.
You know, I don't agree with that. Duck should have not wasted the super combo, because that's just like a trade to a person who has more cards than you. It's just not necessary.
And again, I keep pointing it out, but it bears repeating, Duck does not have draw power. There's not, short of an 8.
And this is kind of what you discussed throughout the beginning of the match, how, Duck's able to get this advantage very early, but the longer the game goes on for Hercule, the more disadvantageous it's going to be for Duck.
Right.
Especially having access to cards that are indestructible, Eric having access to cards that don't care about their keywords on them.
Right.
And ultimately, Duck's stagnancy as far as hand draw goes, it's really dangerous at this point.
Yeah.
And I believe Duck is already at 4 life, yes?
Looks like it.
So now, also looking at the deck, other than Apes and the super combo, it's scary to see, what he can use to awaken.
Yeah. Again, Chad is pointing out that it has a depleted hand. And Awakening is going to be a lot harder. Because we saw his hand and know that he didn't have many plays, he may actually not get much value out of an Awaken at this moment.
But needing to be awakened is the point. He may not awaken at when he needs to, and that's the scary part.
Right. But if he had awakened a turn earlier, it'd be a totally different situation. He draws 2 additional cards. They might have helped. But he is getting Cell's unawakened side effect here. Maybe he'll see a card that can put him back in a better position. Yeah, and it is sort of Eggman's build. It has a lot of similar cards, but it's not a 1-for-1.
Yeah, I don't think. It's definitely not a 1-for-1, but it's definitely inspired. I believe Duck is inspired by Eggman's.
Yes.
This is actually very new to me. I had not seen Eggman's stream. I actually don't really watch everyone's streams. I do.
You watch.
I do. But I didn't see that particular stream that he was playing with this one. So this is very, very new to me, and it's very, very interesting. It's playing very, very well. Aside from obviously the decline in performance throughout this match. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't have time to watch the stream today. But shout outs to Eggman. Congratulations. If you made Top Cut or something, he said he used it today in Top.
The Top Cut.
I think
tournament.
Okay. So don't know if he made Top Cut with it. Not sure there's a Top Cut for the event, but if he did, should that still stands.
If I remember correctly, he did. He did
make Top Cut. He did very well. So shout outs and congratulations to you. Congratulations to everyone who. Oh. Okay. Well. Okay. Still.
That's awesome, man.
Congrats to everyone who played in the Top Cuts. You were able to get promos and we weren't. There you go. That's a congrats.
Boy, do I feel bad. I didn't even get into Gen Con.
Yep.
So I will not be receiving any Goku Apes anytime soon.
Hopefully, I can pull some. Hopefully, I can get the unisons that I need from the champion pack. But
bring them back to the community.
Yeah,
me, i.e.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Especially because Sean will take a motherfucking ship to Europe for a Goku Ape. I gotta do it, man. The trade's out there. I got my ship ticket now. You're spending a whole week on the ship, yeah. I got some Dramamine or whatever for some, just in case,
Ant, what did you play in the event today, man? Oh, interesting.
So Duck has 3 cards in his hand, correct?
That's what it looks like.
Nice. Congrats. Invokers, very, very good. I sounded like President Trump. Very, very vague comments. We're doing something about the China virus. A
lot of really good
about the China virus.
A lot of really good people play Invoker.
Yeah. Invokers, you see me trying to build the deck.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
And Ant's been on Invoker actually for quite some time. Since the deck came out, you were bringing that to local.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Definitely getting rid of the Unison. That's something that he wants to do.
Yep.
That Unison is very powerful, especially against multicolored decks.
Yes.
It's extremely oppressive. And it definitely gave Eric the turn he wanted to have. Him not being able to use that super combo to put an 8th in the drop to help generate some card draw really, really hurt him. And him not being able to use the counterplay, honestly, to deal with that was also very bad.
So you mentioned mono or multicolor leaders, and I wanted to ask you, as we see what Duck's going to do here, how do you feel about multicolor now? It seems like Bandai has really incentivized monocolor decks for the moment, or at least monocolor leaders.
So monocolor leaders, yeah. So the thing is that in a vacuum, the effects on the monocolor leaders and the effects on the multicolor leaders, there is a disparity between the two.
Yeah.
Being able to awaken when you want to, and being able to trade essentially cards for additional card draw, untapping of energy, and very, very powerful effects.
Yep.
That is something that is huge. There's no reason why anyone wouldn't run a multicolor leader. Also, again, multicolor, being able to have access to both sides of the spectrum, be it, blue-yellow or blue-red, just having access to stuff like D-Magic and having access to also be able to use cards like Brawly Crown or Vegeta Exploited. I mean, really, really powerful. So that was just like, there was just no way that players could have chosen it. I'm sorry, this super combo is really, really awesome. And we're going to get back to that. There's no reason why players would want to choose to play another type of leader, especially a mono leader.
Sure.
So now they did definitely increase it. You're not incentivized necessarily for running mono energy. And I think as long as you're not incentivized for running fully outside of those extra cards, for running mono energy, you're going to see mono leaders that still utilize dual color energy.
Sure.
Even one of the GoTinks lists that was shown on the stream, it was running dual color energy in its primary strategy. This deck, Hercule, a monocolor leader, have access to effects that would only be applied for monocolor leaders, but still use dual color energy.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely good that they didn't completely try to disintegrate the integration of the dual colors. Because that would just be very difficult for players to deal with. But yeah, getting back to the matchup, Nappa just generating crazy value in the form of a super combo, a draw, and a play, and being able to use it as a super combo or an attacker the following turn.
So you mentioned Hercule being able to abuse the fact that it can play multicolored cards.
Yes.
Nappa was never intended to be played that way.
No.
Right? Because in this deck, it's a draw. It is a traditional super combo, and it becomes a body on board.
Exactly.
The only other place that it's like that, I believe, is Surge Broly.
Yes. So now it's a draw, it's a super combo, and it's a body.
Yeah.
In the form of a super combo and a draw again, if it's used again.
Yep. Very powerful. What is the best deck?
Nappa doesn't come in rest mode. Nappa comes in active mode.
The best deck, I think Random Man said it well. There is no best deck necessarily. I think there is definitely a tier list, and I think that there are decks that are definitely better than others. But you can play about 5 decks right now, 7 decks right now, and have a chance in any environment, I would say.
Yeah. I think that there are some that stand on the top of the hill, like obviously U7.
Yep.
It's I mean U7 can beat you in 1,000. You know, if you ever saw the 1,000 Ways to Die, that's U7. If he caught the
Oh boy, yeah, the Black Smoke is played here, and there's the counter play.
Yeah, the counterplay doesn't end the fight, so.
This is what we've been talking about the entire matchup.
No, the counterplay doesn't. Does he reduce the cost in his hand and field, or just the hand?
No, his counterplay is still him.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't touch that.
Okay.
The counterplay is what plays him. The auto is what kills him. The counterplay time will be the only time that Black Smoke is gonna be 5 cost. You get? So, because Black Smoke is already played, when this auto resolves, Black Smoke is no longer an applicable target.
Gotcha.
And that's why I wanted to make sure that it wasn't in, like if it said in the counter, if it said KO one of your opponent's battle cards with a cost of 7 or more and play this card.
Then,
I mean, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Then it would be that. But it would also not affect the card that was coming in play because the card isn't in play during the counter time. If you would reveal, pay the energy, then they would counter and play themselves. But that card that's coming to play would miss that anyway. So it wouldn't even be able to work in that way.
Interesting.
And now he can choose to either warp his hand or his board, which, honestly, I would just go after the board. Actually, he can go after the hand. Damn.
I mean, if you go after the hand here, then Duck's on the draw. And you don't want to be on the draw in a deck like this. It's just not, good. What is threatening Eric right now?
Yeah.
It's hand dependent for sure, but
he's going to make him take the life. And then essentially warp for him.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Warp your hand.
Yep, there it is.
Warp your hand. Warp your hand.
Warp your hand. Warp your hand.
So yeah, there goes the hand, and again now.
So now Duck is on the draw, as well as Eric having access to Senzu Bean and.
Can I point out though how powerful Goku Ape is? That's the difference between Duck being able to get back in this game and not.
Yeah.
Being able to use that from the drop area and add 2 cards to your hand.
Ape in the drop?
I don't think he has the card at all. I don't think he owns it.
Oh.
But if he did, that's why it's $100 or whatever it is, because of things like that.
He pops any card?
Yep. He pops any card, then he pops a card in non-barrier with 3 less.
Bye-bye Black Smoke.
Black Smoke definitely did what he wanted to do, though. He definitely created a situation that Duck is going to have extreme difficulty coming back from. I mean, only having 2 life, there's just no real...
He's still in a bad situation, but think about the power of that Demigra.
Oh, negging the 5-drop freeze.
Oh, the after image.
Yeah.
Now, this is also pretty dangerous, only because of the fact that
Well, the Demigra now is not going to be a 15k body because he used the other effect. So Eric is safe from that extra attack.
Yeah. No, I'm saying Duck has to activate his effect to put his cards in rest mode because it's
right.
Exactly.
Right.
But now if Duck was to run into a super combo and a counterplay, you know, he would be able to generate that play on this turn.
You can't?
You can. I read the card. It says kill one of your opponent's battle cards. It says choose one of your opponent's battle cards to kill.
Yeah, it does.
Yes, you can pop the black smoke.
Yeah. We just read it again to clarify, but you absolutely can.
You can. He has two. He KOs two cards. One, anything, and then another, 3 or less, ignoring barrier.
Yes. It is, yeah, it is Demigra, yes. See, even in this situation, Eric is not pressed to win the game this turn. So the effect of Cell Surge does not matter for Eric's turn. He can play battle cards on Duck's turn. This is not a threat for him. He can pass with all his energy open and just play defensively.
Yes.
Yeah, it absolutely is. But it can pop the black smoke. It says 3 or less, ignoring barrier, but it also pops any battle card, not ignoring barrier.
I have a better time too.
You need to do that. No challenge. No challenge.
I don't think I played it yet. Oh, I played it. I'm not working 20 cards.
That's all right, man. We're sleepy too. Just trying to bring these games for you guys. So Eric decided to skip charge. I think that's a sign that he feels pretty comfortable with the amount of energy that he has. And again, he's not incentivized to summon battle cards this turn, but it's really not relevant.
And Hercule's strength lies in his ability to play his cards during his opponent's turn as well. Of course, you're welcome, D-Mac. You're welcome, D. Welcome, bro. And then look at Eric's hand. Look at that. I mean, like 15k. Like, you just have access to a lot of powerful cards right now.
And again, he doesn't have to do anything. By the way, guys, if you're watching and you haven't hit that follow button yet, go ahead and do that. It helps us out a lot. It validates what we're here doing. And, you know, there's a lot of incentives for you guys to do that. So you know when we come on stream next time, we're going to keep this thing going all summer long.
I'm going to draw 2. Sure. Pass?
Nah, I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking some different shit. But yeah. I don't necessarily agree with the Kotsukai because of the fact that his turn was over already. He's not really gonna play nothing, so I don't see why he would want to do the Kotsukai. Maybe he wants to just filter.
Yeah, I can see that. To be honest, he's not going to get a lot of value out of Kotsukai otherwise in this matchup. Yeah.
Well, he definitely would have had it earlier in the beginning. Yeah.
Outside of the scenario that you accurately called
hanging
out.
on by a thread as far as hand goes.
His secret rare is not playable at the moment, and that's a big problem. Most other decks have a secret rare that you can just plop out on the board. His secret rare requires him to have a board, and he doesn't have the ability to draw cards to get to that board.
That definitely punishes you for building a board is also really, really difficult.
This is really tough.
So getting rid of the negate and the nag, which means he's very confident about his exploding.
Yeah.
You're not negating. You're just pitching. 20.
So here, what? He's gonna cooler him. That seems to be.
Yeah. Which is why had he he's definitely gonna draw 2 off of this.
Yeah, Patara. Obuni is a big threat in this situation for Duck. He can't deal with all that pressure. But look at how long this game has gone on, and Eric's deck is still doing what it does, whereas Duck's deck has stopped. It's not in motion anymore.
Yeah.
That's the power of a deck that sees so many cards, and I think that Cell Surge is one of the only decks in the meta right now that doesn't generate advantage by drawing cards. Every other deck is outpacing this leader. That's not good right now.
Especially in a deck that not only outpaces you in the ability to filter through your deck, keeps up with that. Because see, what Cell lacks in hand, what he lacks in hand, he gains in card quality.
Right.
Because he's able to look at the top 5 and take one of those. So the quality of your cards become much different.
Yeah.
But the difference is that Hercule creates that same exact effect. Through his filter, he's assimilating that card quality, right? He's exchanging cards for other cards, and while all the while being able to defend himself and doing so. Yeah. And so, in doing that, he's generating a pseudo, card quality type effect or advantage, allowing himself to see multiple cards, trading those cards, and defending himself. And so, not only is he continuing to do that, but he's also drawing per turn.
What card is that?
I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter.
Who's got a nag him down? Wait, why did he contemplate?
So there's the Videl negate. An interesting decision on Eric's part.
So Eric did have access to the counterplay Vegeta, which would have negged his entire board. But he decided to think. I'm confused as to why didn't he just count? So if Eric would have counterplayed Vegeta that card would have been able to do this right here.
I see.
Second big misplay throughout the game.
What? Second effect? It was removed by skill. So like A skill or your skill? Yeah, A skill. So that's
so he's able to gain another skill off of using his own skill. Whereas if Eric would have used exploiting, he would have only gotten one skill.
Right.
And lost his entire board. So no board, no hand. Yeah, it would have been, not that the game isn't over to begin with, but you just don't want to give your opponents openings to do things. You have the cards that you need in order to continuously suppress your opponent and solidify that win. You don't want to give them openings like this. Obviously, Duck can't do much with this opening because of the fact that Duck just doesn't have the life or the hand in order to make something happen. However, you don't want to give them opportunities like that. This was a great opportunity for Eric to tap his energy out and bring out, not even tap his energy out, because he would have had one energy open because he used the negate.
Yeah.
He would have had to use the negate, right?
Absolutely.
So he would have had one energy, brought a valuable card on board, and reduced his board, and stopped the shenanigans. So again, guys, always trying to make sure that you're paying attention to the cards that are in your hand.
And honestly, this game has so many powerful cards in it that sometimes one draw
is all you need.
It's all you need. One extra opportunity that your opponent grants you. So,
yes.
Like you said, Eric is still fine, but you want to close the door on your opponent as quickly as you can, especially when you're playing a deck that grinds. The deck has already succeeded at its goal.
Yes.
This is where you end the game.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Random Ant, for subscribing.
Man.
We really, really appreciate that.
That's awesome.
What does it do?
Appreciate you, man.
If I had a 4-drop Frieza, I could have put it under, played a Zeno. Right now, it's just a 0 and a 5K.
And I think that Duck just has to end his turn I mean, I don't know if he has anything in his hand, but
yeah, what more can he do?
yeah, I mean, this is still a very, very bad situation for them. I mean, Eric could go out for game, but
Pretty sure you got it.
It feels, I hate to say this, but it feels like this game was over 15 minutes ago.
yeah.
There was that critical turn.
Where Eric got rid of the super combo thing.
Yeah.
And even though Eric misplayed, not necessarily misplayed, but he didn't have the foresight into mitigating the real big turn that Duck had earlier in the game. We've seen otherwise. You know, we've seen the deck.
You have to be very careful about how you're evaluating a given situation. Duck put so much into that early game, which is valid, but it actually didn't result in anything. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mill too. And that's game.
Yeah, you got it.
That's gonna do it. Good game, guys. Good game.
So that is the Hercule list, guys. The Hercule list will be up on Patreon as well. I believe it is. But we're gonna be doing analyses of the decks as well. We're gonna try to